Hello, my name is Ralph Brewer. I am an author, a speaker, and the founder of Help For Men and our private support community, the Help For Men Brotherhood. And you can all learn more at helpformen.com/join.
You're watching Success, Motivation, and Inspiration, where we share interviews with incredible leaders who are crushing it in life and business.
Hey, welcome back to Success, Motivation, and Inspiration. Today I got Ralph Brewer on, new buddy of mine who we've been talking a little bit here. I just got done reading his book. Actually went through it a couple of times, The Dead Bedroom Fix. Ralph, as he said, runs the Help For Men Brotherhood. Guy's just a rock star, got a ton of great information. If you're watching this right now, though, and you're a guy who's crushing it in life and business, successful business, everything's going great, but you're having a hard time, get down to it here. You're not getting any in the bedroom. You're in a sexless marriage or receiving just pity sex once in a while. This is something you probably need to listen to. Welcome to the show, Ralph.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Initially saw your ad for the Dead Bedroom Fix book on Instagram. And I've talked to guys over and over throughout the years at different events and places I've spoken stuff that look successful on the outside. But again, you get to talking to them, especially after they had a couple of drinks, and guys start talking about they're romantic with their wife, maybe a couple times a month. Maybe it hasn't been 6 months. Maybe it's a couple times a year. And once I read it, I'm like, I wish I've had your book to recommend to these guys. But for a guy watching this right now who's rejected at home, who are you and why should he listen to you?
Well, I went through a not so great period of my life that involved divorce. And after the divorce, I became a single father to 3 little children. And it was a very, very stressful part of my life. I had a very difficult time coping with it. So part of my coping, if you will, was writing. So I used to write a lot, and I started a blog, and I started writing under the name of Dad Starting Over. And that is a social media account name that I still have to this day. It's very popular. You'll find me on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. See my bald head yapping about stuff on all about this stuff about being a dad and being a man today. And been doing that for years. And out of all the topics that I've ever spoken about, I mean, I've spoken about raising kids after divorce. I've talked about finances, fitness, stress, and all kinds of stuff. The number one thing that always rises to the top as far as popularity is concerned, the number one pain point for men is, believe it or not, I know this may be hard for a lot of ladies to understand, is I'm not getting enough in the old physical intimacy department. And it's an extremely common problem, if you will. So much so that it ends a lot of marriages that are otherwise healthy, but that's, at least on the surface, that is what it seems like. But that's really lacking. And the guys don't have the validation that they need. They don't feel loved. They don't feel valued, all that good stuff. And most men desperately want to fix that situation before it gets to the point of no return with divorce, or they resign themselves to, I guess this is just the rest of my life. They don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
I wrote on that topic because it was such a big deal to me as well in my first marriage. And people really liked what I had to say about it. So much so that somebody suggested I write a book on the subject. And I did. And that was like 8, 9 years ago now. And that book was called The Dead Bedroom Fix. And the 3rd edition of that book just came out last year, actually. You can find it on Amazon. You could go to deadbedroomfix.com. There you go. Amazon.com. You'll see it there. There's the 3rd edition. That's the latest edition, just recently came out. And like I say, out of everything I've ever done, that is the most popular thing I have ever done because that's the most popular topic that men want to talk about. I've actually written 5 different books. And the 4 other books that I've written, the sales of those 4 books do not equal the sale of the one book, The Dead Bedroom Fix. That shows you how popular that is. And sure enough, I do videos on a variety of different topics in the Dad Starting Over name. If I talk about sex and marriage, boom, it blows up. I've had videos hit the tens of millions of views. It's a really, really popular subject. And I have helped thousands of men through one-on-one coaching. Hundreds of thousands have read the book. We have a private support community for men that we call the Brotherhood. I'm jumping ahead in the story. I'm jumping around in the story rather. And several years back, we decided to start the brand start a brand in the larger organization called Help For Men. And because the name of Dad Starting Over, the name I did a lot of social media content under, it's a little limiting. Not everybody's a dad. Not everybody wants to start over in life. So we started Help For Men, and we created a private support community under that for our men. Yes, there is a membership fee involved to join, but with that, you get live meetings with myself and the other coaches. We have a lot of live Zoom meetings every single week. We record all of those meetings. You have over 1,500 hours of meetings that you can listen to. All my books at no additional charge, the ebook format, the audiobook format. We have private discussion forums, which are very popular. We get together in person, one-on-one coaching, courses, all kinds of good stuff. And we have guys that are married and want to improve their marriage. They came via the book, The Dead Bedroom Fix. We have guys that are divorced and scared to death. They don't know what to do. They've lost their sense of their identity. I'm no longer a husband. Who the hell am I? We've had
Yeah.
guys that have lost a loved one, lost a spouse to death, maybe, God forbid, lost a child. Something tumultuous happened in their life to make them say, I need to take a left turn instead of a right turn. This isn't working for me, or I'm having a very difficult time coping. They'll have something in common. They're all just guys trying to do better. And they realize they can't do it alone. They've tried the alone thing and it ain't cutting it. So they go online, they look for help, they find me, they see me talking online on their social media feed. And this is a group that we have men from all over the world. And it's been extremely rewarding. And I love what I do.
Now, what was the moment that you realized that the bedroom problem was not just about sex? A lot of times women think that, oh, he's just wanting some, or they'll give him pity sex or whatever. But when did you realize that that was not actually just about the sex for guys?
It's funny because a lot of men don't realize it. Some men, it's a complicated situation. Some men look at it very much from a very physical release point of view. I just need this, darn it. I'm a man. I have a need. Please, wife, why aren't you doing that? But when you drill down into it, a lot of them, if I told the man, okay, what if the wife just laid there and said, get it over with? He would say, no, I don't want that. Well, why not? Because that makes me feel like dirt. I'm not some kind of animal. I wouldn't do that. I want somebody who's into it. Oh,
Yeah.
well, what does her being into it mean? It means that she values him. It means that she's turned on by him. It means they have a genuine partnership and that she still appreciates and loves him. All that good stuff. That's what that act represents. It's not just the act of release. It's not just the act of getting it on, the old in and out. It represents a lot more to men. And every man eventually realizes it. But for some, it takes a little bit longer to sit and really think about it and go, what is it that I want out of this? And for some men, they get to the point of realizing, you know what? I'm going to take sex off the table actually when it comes to my wife. I'm going to go to her saying, we need to reconnect as a couple. We've just lost each other. We're just gone. You've gone this way. I went that way. And the sex is just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the little very obvious problem. But there's a lot of stuff lurking under the surface here.
People don't realize if you're doing cool stuff in life, you get yourself in shape, you're doing cool stuff, you're out where you're kind of the center of attention in different areas. The guy could go out and get sex anywhere he wanted. That's usually not the issue. And a lot of times women are seeing that, thinking that, oh, this guy's just wants to use me for sex or whatever. And like you said, most guys, anybody that's not a dirtbag does not want the wife just to lay down and just give you a pity sex. I would feel like a loser if that was, if my wife is just lay down, get it over while she reads a book kind of a thing. But what is your recommendation as far as that goes? You married the love of your life and now she's just a roommate. How do you fix that situation?
Well, that situation right there could come about in a variety of different ways. But I'll tell you what is the most common way that we see. There is a certain type of individual guy that is attracted to me and my material, and it's attracted to self-help material in general. If you're a guy that reads a lot of how to do better mentally, how to do better in your marriage and so forth, you're probably what we call kind of an anxious guy. You are at baseline filled with some anxiety about life and you're trying to do better at whatever it may be. For a lot of guys, keeping their marriage intact, keeping the wife happy, fixing the bedroom, whatever. And you're also very anxious in your what we call form of attachment to your partners. An anxiously attached person is a person that needs a lot of reassurance. It's a person that needs to know, like, hey, we're okay, right? Husband, wife, whatever it may be, like, we're cool. You're not going to leave me, are you? And always needing reassurance, always trying to connect to the point of it's a little much. And more often than not, the anxious partner in a relationship is the woman. But there is a huge group of people out there that it is men who are the anxious ones. I was one of them. And they are, ironically, married to the polar opposite, which is what we call the avoidant, which is they really don't like all that connection stuff. They don't want to talk. They just want to be left alone. They want their own little independent life. The only reason you're here is for very specific purposes. It may be if you're an avoidant woman, the only reason I'm with this very anxious guy is because he's a good earner. He's a good father. He's generally a good man, but I don't want him really in that way. And it's kind of understood we don't do that. And I have my little life. He has his. Let's just keep it separate. To the anxious person, that's hell. They want the connection. They want the romance. They want the love. They want the consistent reassurance that everything's cool. So that guy, Mr. Anxious, has to realize a big part of your problem, dude, is you need to become a more secure individual. You got to you got to be comfortable in your own skin. You have to stop putting so much pressure on the shoulders of your wife. That wife is his best friend. She's his lover. She's his therapist. And here's what a lot of guys don't like to hear: she's your mommy. And that is not good.
Yep.
That is not conducive to keeping things sexy in the marriage department,
Yeah.
especially when you are married to a woman who's the polar opposite and she's like, can you please just leave me alone? Can you leave me be? Now, this stuff exists on a spectrum. Some people
Yeah.
are so avoidant that you just never see them. They're always out of the house. They're just always doing their own thing. When they come in, they're just like, leave me alone. Very dysfunctional. It's very unhealthy. They're insecure in their own way. And then we have some that are just like, I keep hitting my microphone. We have some that are just like, I just need to be left alone a little bit. Just give me some time alone. Let's do date night. I'm cool with date night or whatever, but I don't know. Long walks on the beach and talking for hours on end. It's a little much. Everybody falls on the spectrum there somewhere, but
Yeah.
some are so bad and so dysfunctional that they are mistaken for being very narcissistic in nature. They're very toxic. They don't do well in relationships at all. They have no business being in one. But for a lot of these women that are very avoidant, they got into a relationship because they want a comfortable life. They want
Yep.
that safety and security. They wanted to start a family. They really wanted kids. But as far as romance and everything else is concerned, that's just not in their wheelhouse. Probably because their mom and dad were like that, very cold people that they never
Uh-huh.
hugged, they never touched or anything. And that's where she learned a lot of that stuff. But unfortunately, that's not what Mr. Anxious wants. And so let's be honest, a lot of the guys that read my material or self help material in that way come to the grand epiphany, the conclusion of, I think I made a big mistake when I married this woman so many years ago. That's unfortunate. A lot of guys don't want to hear that, but that's the reality for a lot of you out there.
I actually spoke at an event that went out to teach on personal branding and search engine optimization. This is an invite only group. Minimum requirements to be there was $100,000 a month in top line revenue. So
Mhm.
the very poorest guy was making six figures a month. But as we're talking, we spent a few days out, eating alligators, tacos, hanging out, just sharing business tips, connecting with guys that are crushing it, just rock stars in their industry. And as we sat around the final night, eating steaks and drinking martinis and stuff, and as a lot of these guys had got a couple of drinks in them, they started sharing how, like, commiserating about, when guys talking about how you hadn't got any, maybe a couple times a month. A couple times a month, I get it a couple times a year. And they're all talking
Mhm.
about how much worse their life was not getting any from their wife. I'm not there to talk about relationships. I'm there to talk about branding and search engine optimization. But I made a comment saying, a couple of these guys are real jacked and stuff. A couple of guys that are sitting there with a pot belly. And I mentioned, are you doing stuff to make yourself attractive? Would you sleep with you? If you're your wife, would you be attracted to you? I mean, you're obviously not in the kind of shape that you should be. One of the guys was saying he used to be in a band. That was how he had met his wife. He was playing lead guitar in this band. The other guys rock climbing, doing cool stuff. Now all they're doing is focusing on business. And so I jumped in and started sharing, man, why don't you start doing some cool stuff again? Find some guys to play guitar with again. Find some, get out, start playing, get out to where you're somebody that's
Mhm.
attractive and desirable to other women. Not that you're trying to hook up with another woman, but when your wife sees that other people want you, you're out there doing cool stuff again, you're desirable to other people, you become more desirable to your wife. And I was getting some real negative feedback on that from a couple of these guys that are wanting to sit there and talk about how they're not getting any. And this other guy that jumped in, very successful real estate guy, owns, I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of different rental properties. And they got the big pool with the, the water slide and all the crazy cool stuff there. But he jumped in, and this guy is in his 60s, jacked.
Mm.
I mean, you could tell, he's jacked, fit, tan, looks like I want to look like when I'm 65 years old. But he jumped in and said he had married his high school sweetheart and said they've got a great sex life, everything's going great. But he said the reason I train like this, the reason I every single morning get up running, doing push-ups, all this stuff, is because he wanted to make sure that his wife was not ever looking at the pool boy thinking, man, he's got some nice abs.
Mhm.
He's talking about how he gets it anytime he wants. And it was not just because of the way he looks, but because he's doing stuff in every aspect of his life where his
Mm.
wife is going, wow, I really got a catch. But
Mhm.
what's your
I mean,
advice
what
on
you're
that?
talking about is what I call kind of the shallow stuff, the surface level stuff. There is something to that. Let's be honest. There is something to looking good, taking care of yourself, but there's something deeper that goes along with it. Looking good and taking care of yourself also shows a sense of independence. Independence is not only attractive, but it's crucial for mental health, emotional health within a relationship. There is something that is distinctly human about I want a partner to go through life with. That's like we see that
Yep.
cross culturally. In every culture all over the world throughout time, we've seen there's ceremonies for it's you and me. It's you and me, woman, against the world. We're a team here. We'll create a family, whatever. Ironically, though, just as a little side note, that didn't necessarily always mean throughout history and cross culturally strict sexual monogamy. That's neither here nor there. So the surface level stuff is important in terms of maintaining your health. Yes, you want to look good to your partner. You want to look good for yourself. You want to look good for others. That does instill some of that healthy sexual emotional tension of I could lose this man or this woman to other people. Sure, that may be a component of it. Think of this whole keeping the sex alive thing as a giant jigsaw puzzle, and there's a lot of pieces. A giant chunk of the puzzle is maintaining your looks. And a lot of people don't like to hear that, and they will deny it until they're blue in the face. You have, when you point that out to people who don't look so good, they don't like it because you're putting a mirror in front of their face going, hey, dummy,
Yeah.
it could be the fact that you're 100 pounds overweight. And if you don't believe me, go online and look at forums of women saying these men are gross with their giant beer bellies and they look like they're pregnant and they think that I'm going to jump into bed with him and be the first thing they pick at is his looks, the easy thing.
Yep.
That's why for a lot of men, before you go to the wife, hat in hand, so to speak, saying, we have some real problems with our intimacy and it concerns me. I love you, but I don't want to have to divorce you. But that's how important this is to me. We need to work on this. Before you do that, you need to take a good look in the mirror and see, are you taking care of yourself?
Yeah.
Because frankly, if you're a guy who's 100 pounds overweight and you look like a bag of, you know what, she's not going to take it nearly as seriously if you're a guy who's worked on yourself, worked on your what's going on up here in your head, and try to become a more secure individual to where she looks at you and goes, yeah, I see what he's doing here. I got a good guy. I got a good man.
Yeah.
And this is someone that a lot of other people would kill to be with. All right, maybe I do need to put in some work on us and myself and get to work on this. But if you're a guy that's just fresh out of, you just had a big crying fit and you're stressed out about your life and you go to your wife and you're like, won't you love me? What is going on with us? She's going to be, oh God, this guy.
Please
Just get
touch
away from
me.
me, please. Yeah, please. You joke, but that happens. Why aren't you touching
Yeah.
me? Don't you love me?
Yeah.
I need this. I'm dying without this.
Yep.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Not good from a guy who's not looking so good, not taking care of himself. It's not have the most confidence. And speaking of confidence, with taking care of yourself comes confidence. You sit up straight, you walk taller,
Yep.
you look people in the eye, you shake hands. Men respect you. There's a lot that goes with that physicality that is not just so surface level. The surface level is important. That's what got you guys together to begin with. You don't like to admit it, but
Yep.
you're like, who's that cute girl over there? The looks matter. Same thing for her. That
Yep.
initial. Now, in the defense of some women say yes, but as the relationship progresses over time, some of that stuff kind of gets shoved by the wayside and we focus more on raising the family, having a stronger emotional connection.
Yep.
Sure. But you still have some of that shallowness still exists in there. It's a key component. It's still some pieces of the puzzle as far as the connection is concerned. It is important. But I would say far more important is your sense of security, your confidence,
Yeah.
your outgoingness, your inability or your ability to remain independent and not hang so much of your self-worth on the shoulders of your wife. That is hugely important.
Yeah.
But circling back again, what comes with that? Looking good, feeling good about yourself. So guys, it's a very long-winded way of saying hit the gym. It matters. It really does.
This interview is sponsored by Newswire magazine. We celebrate the entrepreneurs and thought leaders shaping the future. Those who don't just adapt, but innovate, who inspire others to think bigger, lead boldly, and create lasting change. Only a select few are featured in Newswire magazine. And for those who earn a place on the cover, the opportunities are unmatched. Your story shared with a global audience, your achievements celebrated on national billboards, reaching millions. Every leader has a story. Every vision deserves a platform. Who will rise to the top? Stay tuned. You're witnessing greatness unfold.
For so many women, that's almost a virtue signaling type of thing where you hear for example, I was getting out of shape and I lost the abs, got the spare tire and had to go to the gym, was crushing it working, but I'm asking wife, what do you think? I'm going, hey, this, I see some guy in a movie, he's got abs or whatever. What do you think about that? I don't know. It's too muscular too. It, I would like to have abs again. What do you think? I don't know. I like you the way you are. I just love you the way you are. And it's almost like her not wanting to hurt your feelings by saying, oh,
Maybe
it's
a part
okay. I
of it.
like the
Sure.
beer. I like the dad bod. But you look and if you see her eyes drift, it is not to a guy that's got a beer gut and that's sitting around fat and sloppy. It's somebody that is in shape, that's doing cool stuff. And maybe even if it's not a guy that's in shape, but it's a guy that's out there singing, doing something cool where other people look up to and respect him. But I mean,
Yeah,
what's
the
the first
one phrase that I often use is that if you want to see a woman who's very happy and they have a very good sexual connection and all that good stuff, it's a woman who sees her man across the room and nudges somebody and says, "See that guy over there? That's my
Yeah.
man over there." And it doesn't necessarily need to be looks. It's the guy that everyone looks up to. It's the outgoing guy. It's the extroverted guy. It's the low anxiety guy. And it sure as hell doesn't hurt if he's Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome. That's for sure.
Now, what's the first hard truth that you tell men that say, I'm a great husband, I'm a great dad, and she still shuts me down?
It may not be what you're expecting, but the cold hard truth is after, and this doesn't come immediately. This is after talking to the guy several times. This is after forming a relationship with him and really understanding the story. The cold hard truth that a lot of guys don't want to hear is what I alluded to earlier. Sir, you married the wrong woman. The reason you got with her is because oftentimes you'll hear about the progression of a relationship is I met her. Several months later, she moved in. Shortly after that, we got married. Shortly after that, we had a kid. And well, how was the relationship during all that? It was okay. It was fine. Nothing great. It's stupendous, but it was all right. I could live with that. And then when you move in and you get familiar and you have kids and all the stress sets in, and that's when you see what? The real person that you married. That's them.
Yeah.
Because life is stressful. Life is tough. So they didn't really put the woman through the ringer. They didn't really vet their candidate, so to speak. They were just like, woman likes me, good enough. And she didn't run away. A lot of guys have very little relationship experience, very little sense of self-worth. They don't like themselves at all. So when somebody likes them back, they're like, I can't let this one go. Even if there's red flag after red flag, after which there usually is.
Yeah.
Her mother's a real basket case. She doesn't like hugs all that much. She insert another red flag, but he just shrugs it off as, that's fine because I don't have much choice when it comes to women. And that can persist for 20, 30 plus years until finally something happens that they can't ignore. Maybe I don't know what, she has some grand epiphany and she goes, I don't like you and I never have liked you. See you later. Maybe she had an affair or something like that. And when he looks back on the relationship, thanks to help with me or his therapist or men's group or whatever it may be, a lot of men come to the grand epiphany of this was the wrong woman that I got with. And that's really, really hard to face. What's that mean? Did you, quote, waste all those decades? It's not necessarily a waste. A lot of guys had children. They had a lot of good life experiences, a lot of good experiences with her. And they do love her. But as far as being lovers are concerned and a good sex life, it was never, ever meant to be. That is very hard for a lot of guys to face. But then again, we do have the group who, dude, you need to yank your head out of your butt. You got a really good woman on your hands.
Yeah.
And any good woman like her would have lost attraction to you years ago. No wonder she did, because you're not holding up your end of the bargain as a good husband. You've lost that connection with her. You've become a very needy individual. You're hanging all of your sense of self-worth on her shoulders. No wonder she's lost. And that's why. And frankly, when these guys tell me stories, I go, your wife basically told you all this in her roundabout woman kind of way for years and years, and you weren't listening. So it's a good combination of both.
That actually, I hadn't really thought about that side of it as much as just become somebody when you step out of the shower, you look in the mirror and you go, man, I look good, instead of, hey, you fat turd. If you look at yourself and you're not proud of what you see in the mirror, why is your wife going to be attracted to that? I was actually talking to a guy yesterday, a client that was, he's got divorced recently, had a train wreck, a very good looking, attractive wife, but she was out at the club all the time, getting into, doing pills and drinking a lot. And he had found out she'd been having affair after affair after affair and was still hanging out for a couple of years trying to make it work and hadn't seen him in quite a while. Just talked to him again. He's got back with his first love and just having a great relationship. But we were talking about the ex-wife that married her basically because of the physical attraction. But like you said, just married the wrong woman, ended up having kids with her, spent a few miserable years with her out cheating, out doing the crazy stuff. not ever sleeping with him, bringing other guys home while he's still home. Just crazy
Wow.
junk.
Really bad.
And trying to make it work to help the kids. I told him a couple of years ago, this is not helping your kids. This is not a good example. This is showing them that their dad is a loser that lets lets these other guys in the house, whatever is going on there.
There's believe it or not, that's a relatively common thing that I hear. Some semblance of that. That's pretty severe with the guy coming in while he's still there and all the other stuff. But that points to, if you got a friend who not only picks a woman like that, that's a red flag for your friend. Like, what are you doing picking a woman like this? And you married her? And you hung around for how long during all this?
Yeah.
That shows what? Your friend's got some problems. And it's, psychologists would say he's exhibiting what's called codependency. Mr. Nice Guy syndrome, if you want to call it that. And that's not good. He lets people walk all over him. He has a very low sense of self-worth. He has no boundaries or anything. And people just step all over this dude, including his loved one, his girlfriend or wife. And you see it, and it's very hard to sit back and watch. You don't get it. You're like, why would this guy endure this for so long? In essence, it's because he doesn't like himself at all. Not very much at all. You know what that all goes back to for every one of these situations? And it doesn't sound like the manliest thing to admit, but it's true. So tell me about your childhood. That's what it all comes down to. Tell me about mom and dad. And you'll hear some horror stories. And you're like, well, there it is, dude. That's why you got with this woman. She reminds you of mom or dad. Yeah. And you like that chaos, apparently. That felt comfortable to you. And that's why you endure it, just like your mom did or your dad did. We hear that all the time.
That makes sense. Now, what do men do that feels loving to them but kills desire on the other side?
Well, that's a good question. Something that it feels loving, but it kills desire. You know, a lot of men get very comfortable in a relationship. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you have to realize that it can go too far. When men get comfortable, we tend to start exhibiting, not all of us, but a lot of men start to exhibit some kind of childish behavior, goofy, fun. We play around with our wife a lot. And it's hard to marry the goofy, playful, loving, childish kind of behavior. That's what a lot of women point out. It's very unattractive with kind of erotic, sexual kind of stuff. So when men try to bridge the two worlds, the wife's like, don't bring the goofy baby talk in the bedroom. This is serious time. This is serious, sexy, fun time. And a lot of men don't get that. So they'll go into bed and, start doing little dances and do the helicopter or whatever with the wife. And the wife's like, no, that's dude. Or, do a little baby talk or whatever. And she's like, no. So and the men don't mean anything bad by it. They're just comfortable. And when they're comfortable and feel loved and everything's great, they let their little kid out and they start acting funny and goofy. I'm guilty of that. A lot of men are. And a lot of women are like, can you just stop it, please? Now, how many of us have heard, no, now's not the time. Stop. I need you to be serious right now. Listen to me. Oh, okay. Well, go ahead. As she's trying to tell you something serious and we're being all goofy because we're just happy and comfortable. So guys realize that it's a delicate balancing act. It's a little dance that you do to try and introduce comfort, security, fun, goofiness, playfulness, friendliness, and the sexual erotic side of things. They're two different sides. So you have to know which hat to wear and when. So when it's romance time, it's romance time. When it's something that is very difficult for a lot of men is that a lot of women post kids. Women change after kids, 100%. We've all seen it. I always say it's wife 2.0. Wife 1.0 is dead. You have to be comfortable with that. Your honeymoon stage is over. So it's going to take a different kind of work and more of it in order to bring about the sexy that you used to see in the early stage of a relationship before you had kids, before you got married and everything else.
Yeah.
So a lot of women are very resistant to trying to bring that back into the world. So it's like, I always say, like, picture a house, front door and a back door. And you bring all the sexy and fun in, and at the early stages of a relationship, the house is just filled with sexy and fun. And that's what every man loves. Can we just keep this going forever, please? No, we need to start bringing in comfort and stability and family and domesticity. And it starts pushing some of the sexy out the back door. And we're like, no, not so fast. And you bring some sexy back and no, not so fast. The woman says, like, we need to worry about the kids. And you're like, I know the kids are important, but it's also important we have date nights. Okay, fine. But it's always this little back and forth. That's what I've seen. Successful marriages successfully do that dance, the back and forth. And the woman needs to be receptive to, yeah, I agree. We do need our date nights. It's a weekend away every now and then, away from the kids. Leaving the kids with grandma and grandpa is okay. I feel safe enough for that. That's a real big deal for a lot of women. They don't feel safe doing that. Even some women say, I want the kids to sleep in bed with us every night because it makes me feel secure. And the kids are little, and the man has to be the one to go, that's not good for us. We don't do that. The bed is our sacred little area just for us and adults. This is for us to reconnect at night. Bringing little kids in is not healthy. Kids have their own little room. They're just down the hall. They're fine. They're not going to die. This is, this
Yeah.
is okay. The guy, what I've seen more often than not, needs to be the cheerleader of that side of the relationship.
Well, and not only being the cheerleader, but be a man. I mean, if your
Cheerleader's
wife,
a wrong word, isn't it? Yeah. The leader
yeah,
in that way.
yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to correct you there, but your wife, I mean, maybe there's rare cases where this is not true, but in most circumstances, women want a man that is a leader, that is
Mhm.
that's going to take charge, is going to do stuff, where she's not having to think about micromanage everything. You talked about the baby talk. I cannot imagine. I mean, if my wife ever started doing baby talk, and this is coming from a woman, if she
Mhm.
ever started doing baby talk in bed, I would instantly go, hey, wait, knock that off. This is not sexy. This is not cool. I can't even imagine a man doing that in bed
Mhm.
or in the bedroom trying to be cute and sexy.
Mhm.
That, I mean, a woman that would put up with that, I would think has probably got some problems. If she's willing to go through and do sexual stuff with a guy that's talking
Well,
like a baby.
in their
That's weird.
defense, a lot of women will say men are pretty sensitive. Male ego is a thing. So to tell a man, especially in the heated moment of that, like, dude, cut it out. That's weird. Stop it. He's going to be like, you've just hurt my feelings. You're the one who just ruined the moment. I was having fun. I was happy. And then a fight breaks out and she's like, what does she learn? I can't approach this guy with anything. He's a little too sensitive in that way. So yeah. And being a leader also means taking some feedback. And when the woman says,
Yeah,
I don't like that, you go, cool, message received. Thanks for letting me know. Appreciate it. High
yeah,
five. Yeah. I'm glad you told me, as opposed to just beating around the bush for the next 10 years and never telling me. And we end up in marriage counseling and you say something and I say, why didn't you just tell me, woman? I'm glad you're telling me
yeah,
this now. That's what I want to hear. That's a strong dude.
yeah.
And that's
Yep.
attractive.
That's awesome. Now, we've talked about this quite a bit, but give me basically just kind of in one or two sentences, what's the difference between being a good man and being a desirable man?
Wow. Is there a difference? There's a difference between being a nice guy and a desirable guy. That's what a lot of people conflate the term nice. Nice is kind of a slang term, again, for a codependent man. There's a book out there for your viewers and listeners to listen to called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. Huge book. Dr. Glover is a friend of mine. We've done events together. We're doing an event here coming up next month, actually, in Louisville, Kentucky, March 20th, 28, Brofest, we call it. And that is one of, if not the most popular men's self-help book ever written. No More Mr. Nice Guy. You can find it on Amazon and elsewhere. There you go. Check that out. So Dr. Glover talks all about the nice guy syndrome, which is having zero boundaries, letting people walk all over you, having zero sense of self. You just go whichever way the wind blows. So when you're on a date with a woman, she goes, where do you want to eat? And you say, I don't know. I don't care. Whatever you want to eat. And she's like, oh, God, here's a guy that can't make a decision.
I'm guilty of that. I need to knock that off too.
And in his defense, he's like, I don't want any kind of drama. I don't want anything. It just get to the point. You just tell me, a woman, I don't care what it is we have. And she wants somebody who has a bit of a backbone, who has a sense of self, a sense of identity, who's not afraid to rock the boat a little bit. That is not your nice guy. So a lot of people conflate being nice in that way as being a good husband. It's like, no, dude, you're a pushover. You're a guy who has no sense of self. You're not an independent man. You've put too much, again, I keep using the imagery of you put too much on her shoulders. And women don't like that at all.
Yeah.
Hell, men don't like that at all. Like, we want our woman to make a decision every now and then on her own. But can you imagine every day, every decision, always, through every aspect of your life? That's what a lot of nice guy types do. Nice guy types are also filled with a great deal of shame. They have a lot of sexual shame. They're very closed off about what they really want in bed and what they want out of their wife and their sex life and everything, because I feel like a bad boy for having those thoughts. I feel dirty for having those thoughts because he's been told at an early age, you don't talk about that stuff. You don't think about that stuff. Sex is bad. You don't talk about it. So he carries all that shame into the relationship. That's a typical nice guy. So a good husband, a desirable husband, basically the polar opposite of that. I've heard actually somebody say that nice guy syndrome was actually the number one biggest turnoff for all women, is a guy to have all those traits that I talked about, all encompassed in what we call the nice guy syndrome. So that's kind of a big deal.
Well, and you hear guys that are, and I'm not trying to offend anybody here. If you're watching this right now on Amazon Fire TV, what I am saying, I am not the relationship expert. I'm just a guy who's listened to a lot of other guys complain about, not being desired or not having successful guys talk about not being desired or not getting enough in the bedroom or whatever. So, our guest here is definitely the expert on the situation, but I've heard guys a lot And it's usually weak. You're almost embarrassed for them, just embarrassed hearing them talk. The guy's talking about, well, I'm the nice guy. I buy her flowers. I get the door. I'm like almost like being a pushover makes her owe you sex. I don't want to choke these guys. I mean, I am grossed out just listening to this. Well, I'm sweet. I'm nice. I listen to her problems. I let her talk. I buy her flowers. I get her gifts. Like that means that she owes you something.
You're tapping into something huge, dude. That is a huge part of the nice guy syndrome. And this is something I hear all the freaking time in my world. There was a guy that shared a story here recently on Twitter, or X as it's called now. And I actually shared it on my social media because it was so perfect. He said he was on a date with a woman. I can't remember if he said it's a first date or second date, but they didn't have a relationship. They were just on a date. And they were at a bar. And the woman slipped and fell and like blew out her knee. He said that he heard a pop. So he's like, oh, you must have blown your ACL or something. That's not good. And it was in the middle of a snowstorm. So he picks her up and carries her like 6 blocks to her apartment so she can get home and rest and call her mom or whatever. I can't remember all the details. And he said, and you know what happened to me? I got a text message, her breaking up with me. So there's a lesson in that, guys. And what he's saying between the lines is no matter how nice you are, they can still break up with you. It's like, yeah, she didn't owe you another date, dude. She didn't owe you a relationship. You were being a kind individual. Here's a person in need. You were out with her, you're friendly with her, and you pick her up and go, I'll help you out. Sure, I'll leave you here. And everything good? Cool. And you leave not expecting anything out of her.
Yeah.
But he was personally hurt because there was, Dr. Glover calls this, and it's a perfect term, a covert contract, which means covert meaning it's hidden. I'm not going to tell you, woman, but I have a little contract in my mind. And that is, I do nice things for you. I expect XYZ in return. And for a lot of nice guy types, it's I expect love and romance and sex and affection in return.
Yeah.
Well, why? I bought you flowers. I bought you a car. I took you out on dates. I bought this nice expensive meal for you. The understanding is you in turn give me love and affection and sex and all that good stuff. That is a very tough thing for a lot of guys to realize. And they need to be told flat out, that's not how life works, dude. You do nice things for people because you're a kind man and you want to do them, not because you expect something in return. And if you're doing it for all those reasons, like I'm buying this dinner because I better get some, you know what, from her later tonight, then just don't do it, dude. You're doing it for all the wrong reasons. That's a very weak mindset.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's not nice. That's manipulative. If you
Exactly
are
right.
doing something nice, if you help a little old woman across the street, you pick up her, walk her, and help her get across the street. If you were expecting sex from that 90-year-old woman, you're a jacked up, messed up guy, messed up individual.
I don't know if
That
the
same
90-year-old
thing
woman
applies.
is the perfect example in that case.
But what I'm saying,
I get
I'm
what
using
you're
that
saying.
example to say, if you help this little old woman across the street and you're expecting sex from her when you get to the other side of the sidewalk, you're a screwed up guy. You're messed up. You're not doing that because
Or,
you're nice.
I
The
think more
same thing, if you
realistically-
do that because of us, because you're on a date, that's the exact same situation. It doesn't matter who you're helping. If you're
Mhm.
doing that, expecting something, with a non-spoken contract that I did something nice for you, now you've got to sleep with me. That is not being nice. You're not a nice guy. You're a manipulative, controlling, messed up person.
It's good. Yeah. I think more apt example with the old lady would be if you helped her across the street and then you held out your hands like money. And she'd be like, hey, yeah, I helped you across the street. That's worth at least $5, right? Come on.
Yeah.
Everybody would think you were a jerk for that. It's the same energy. It's like with that guy with where the woman blew out her knee in the bar. What if he were to pick her up and go, all right, I'm about to walk you home, but here's the deal. I get another date out of this. In fact, what I'm about to do is worth 3 more dates, and I expect sex after date number 5. Cool? I mean, she would be like, just put me back down, please. I'll call my mom. She'll come pick me up, you weirdo.
Yeah.
But that's in essence what, if he was overt about it, that's what he would say. And everyone knows that that's weird. And I think innately he knows that's weird too. That's why he's very covert about it. And he just holds on to his resentment. And he later blows up and tells the whole world and the internet, look what this mean woman did to me. And the reaction he got overall was people saying, that's weird, dude. And that's the energy that a lot of husbands put out there for their wives. I went out and fixed the thing. I did the thing. I changed the oil in the car. I did all these things. And she still won't give me a, you know what?
Yeah.
She's a terrible woman. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you did all the things because you're her husband. She does an awful lot too because she's your wife and she's the mother of your children. You don't expect things out of each other as a result. You do things for people because you love them.
Dude, I am loving this. I wasn't quite sure how this conversation was going to go, but there is so much. I would love to just hang out with you, have a cup of coffee, whatever, and talk to some other guys that are going through this kind of stuff. Here's another one for you. You're talking about the not being able to choose where you, or, guy being afraid to say where he wants to eat or whatever. Like I've done way too much with my wife, where both of us are, I don't know where you want to eat. I don't know where you want to eat. How does avoiding conflict actually like quietly destroy attraction over time?
Again, that's that codependence mindset. I can't make you upset because if I make you upset, you will get mad and I fear losing you. Weakness, weakness, weakness. That's all it is in disguise. Secure people like not only don't mind conflict, they like enjoy it because at least we're getting something done. At least we're getting to the bottom of it. At least we're getting to a resolution. It's like really low anxiety people. If you want to use a psych term, people that are very low in neuroticism as a personality trait, they make really good salespeople because they don't care about rejection. They will go and get a no, and those will be like, cool, next. There's a phrase that a lot of salespeople use. Cool, I'm one step closer to my next yes. So I got the no, so what, big deal. Neurotic people, anxious people, they get a no and they get another no, they're done. They just go crawl in their hole. This ain't for me. And that extends to the romantic world. So they're out there dating girls and the girl says, get away from me, you weirdo. And he's just like, I'm done. I'm out of here. While the very low anxiety guy who's very extroverted and he doesn't care and he has a sense of abundance in life, he says, your loss, next. And he goes through 100 such women and it's a numbers game. He doesn't care. So the original question was, we were talking about, what were we talking about originally? I went down that side road there. I often do this, but sticking with this sense of abundance in life, it sounds counterintuitive, but when you're in a relationship with somebody long term, you always have to understand what's the worst case scenario here. She ends up saying, see you later. I'm going for somebody else. That's terrible. I just don't like you anymore, husband. See you later. Or you're like, I just can't stand your wife and I haven't been able to stand you for so long. What's the worst case scenario? You break up and you go your separate ways. Will you be brokenhearted? Yeah. You lost a partner of so many years. You're going to feel weird about it. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel whatever. That's welcome to being a human being. But in the end, you'll be okay. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't internalize that. They don't believe that at all. And so that drives a lot of their behavior. That drives their behavior at work. I got to put up with this cruddy boss who treats me like dirt. Why? I'm lucky to have this job, man. The benefits and everything else and the salary. Have you seen this? I'll put up being treated like dirt. And the guy ends up having a heart attack when he's 50 years old and everything else because he's just so much stress and everything else. Same thing with your romantic relationships. I'm with this woman who talks down to me, cheats on me and everything else. And why are you with her? There's not much else out there. And that all this stuff is intertwined. And notice we started with dead bedroom talk. And it ends up going to the nice guy stuff. And it gets a sense of abundance stuff and stress and anxiety and all of it's intertwined, which is why we say in our men's group, the Brotherhood, we have men that are in the dead bedroom situation. We have men that are in the divorced and worried about, finding my next Mrs. Right, or will I ever find anybody ever again? And then we have guys that have been cheated on and they're made to feel like less than dirt. All of these men have a lot in common. Very high anxiety, very low sense of self-worth. And here's the kicker. A lot of them have no men in their lives. They don't have a social group, a community. They don't have a board of directors to go to for, hey, what do you think about this decision in life? Which direction do you think I should go in? That's why groups like ours, the Brotherhood, helpformen.com, that's why we exist. Because doing all this stuff and navigating all this stuff is really tough. And it's tougher for some than it is for others. Some guys just go through life like it's nothing. Those really confident, extroverted guys, very low in anxiety. Life's just it's easy for them. Extroverts have it easy in life. But when you're an introverted, more anxious kind of guy and everything seems kind of difficult, especially romantic relationships, you feel like you're all alone in this and you got to figure it out as you go. And you just got cheated on and divorced. Now you're really alone. You don't know what the hell to do. It really helps to surround yourself with like-minded guys who've been there, done that, or guys going through the same kind of struggles and working through it. That's why we created the Brotherhood. All this stuff is very much intertwined.
And now you've got a pretty solid Facebook group as well. It looks like you guys do some actual like events and retreats and stuff too, right?
Yeah. So as far as the Brotherhood is concerned, we do have a private Facebook group for members only that is very, very active. I think we had like 70-some thousand discussions started on there. And we also utilize Discord. I don't know if you're familiar with Discord for talking.
Yep.
That's really big with like the video gamers and stuff. We have a lot of guys who love that. So we have a private Discord server, as they call it. And then we have the Zoom meetings. We get together and talk live frequently throughout the week. And then, we get together in person. And we have an annual conference that we do in the United States, as well as one in Australia. And the one in the United States, we jumped to different cities. We did Charleston, South Carolina last year. And this year we are doing Louisville, Kentucky. We've been in Nashville. We've been in Las Vegas, New Orleans, Austin, Texas. We've been in a lot of different places. So we like to try out different places and see what's good. They all have their own little flavors and stuff. And then Australia, they bounce, Sydney, Melbourne, and all these other little places. So it's been awesome. Really getting together in person takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
That's where you
awesome.
realize these are real humans and you press the flesh, and that's where real friendships are made and stuff. So that's huge. For a lot of you guys, you don't necessarily have to join a men's group, but you need men in your life, period. And men that extend beyond the very casual guy that I meet for wings and beer every now and then. We watch football and like talk about work, and that's it. That's most guys. That's most of our socializing. It's nice to have somebody you can turn to go, things aren't good at home, dude. Wife and I haven't touched each other in 5 years. Your average Joe is going to be like, I don't know what to talk about with this. This is really weird. I feel very uncomfortable talking about Ralph with this, and just sip your beers and go, that sucks, dude. Anyway, see the Bears game last night? That's kind of where that goes. So for a man who feels very alone in that, and he goes to a group and he goes, hey, Brotherhood members, here's what I got going on. And then he instantly gets 50 men saying, yeah, me too. And I went through the exact same thing, dude. And he's like, I didn't realize it was so common. Oh, yeah. And let me guess, this and this happened. Wow, how'd you know? Yeah, we're all the same, dude. Here's what I did to do better. Oh, let me take notes. Yeah, and here's what I did. Whatever you do, don't do this, because this is a big mistake. Those kind of things, no matter what the life moment is, that's huge for a lot of guys. A lot of guys don't realize that's out there. You just got to find it.
Your membership prices change throughout the year? Or do you have has it pretty much been the same price for years, or
we've changed it. We have bumped it up a couple of times just by virtue of everything that we're offering to cover the costs of everything, but it's still very reasonably priced given everything that we have on there. There are several different kinds of support communities and out there for men and women both, and we're not a low priced bargain thing, but we are fairly priced. There are people out there that, I'll be honest with you, do take advantage of a lot of men that are in need. There was men that are hurting, I should say. There was a group that recently went viral because it was discovered that there's a lot of groups that really appeal to a lot of men who've missed out on a lot in life. Like for many years, we've had through generations, like a lot of rites of passage for men from youth into adulthood. The military acts like that for a lot of guys. So I go to boot camp and I go off to war and I come back a man. And a lot of men are kind of missing that from life. And a lot of men don't have a father in their life. So they're really missing out on a lot of masculinity. And there's a lot of groups that kind of take advantage of that. And there was one that went viral here recently because they did a boot camp. Like you went away for a week to a boot camp and they scream in your face and they yell at you. And then I saw what the ticket was to go to that week-long boot camp. It was something like $18,000 to go and have men yell at you. And you're going to come out of that maybe feeling a little bit better, like kind of glad I went through that. Maybe that taught you some things about yourself. I don't know. But in the end, probably a better use of your 18 grand versus, having somebody go yell at you. I think that's just a very superficial performative kind of thing. That's not really a very deep thing there.
I've actually had not that I've got any type of connection with these guys, but running I've got a Facebook group with over 450,000 active members. And so I get a lot of questions from people looking to grow their groups and at these events and retreats and stuff. One of these, like the camps you're talking about, reached out, asked me questions about, are you just having a conversation about having such a ridiculous high ticket price and targeting vulnerable men who don't have great self-esteem. Maybe they're a 6-figure earner that is got a sucky job, a boss that treats them like crap, wife hasn't slept with them, in years, and they're feeling like the guys are on verge of suicide sometimes. And this group leader was saying that when he could charge these guys, where they're putting the price on splitting up between a couple of different credit cards, maxing out everything they could possibly put together, trying to figure out how to pay for it, they're going to figure out a way to justify that. Then they get to these groups and the guys upsell them additional higher ticket offers.
That's the game, dude.
Going, do you really believe in yourself? Do you really? But the whole thing is just this, like you talked about, they're screaming at you and the same kind of abuse and Oh, you loser, you suck. What do you really believe in yourself? Do you really believe that you can be the man you're supposed to be? I mean, the same thing happens with sales training camps from guys that are not super confident, but they see successful sales guys that are crushing it. And so they're getting abused by these guys that are just telling me, do you really believe in yourself? Do you want to go back home and suck? Do you want to go back home and stay the way that you were? Or do you really believe, okay, now you need to pay this next higher ticket offer? That stuff just makes me furious. But I've had questions from those guys on how to grow their groups and stuff. And I do not give any kind of advice on
there's a lot of
grow,
there's a lot of people out there that take advantage of people in need. That's been the business engine for years for a lot of people. And it works well. If you want to take advantage, there's a lot of people out there, but it's not good. It's not good for them. In the long run, it doesn't work. That's flat out doesn't work. It's very performative, but there's a lot of very unhealthy stuff. There's a mantra that myself and a lot of guys preach, which can go too far, and that is ultimate responsibility. Ultimately, you have responsibility over your life. You have to take ownership of your decisions in life. So when a guy comes to me and says, I've been in this marriage for 15 years. My wife has cheated on me 5 different times. By the way, I've heard this. In fact, she had a child with one of those men. And in fact, I haven't touched my wife in any kind of sexual way in the last 10 years. She calls me these things. She's substance abuse. And you're just like, okay. At some point, dude, you have to take ownership of the fact that you're putting up with all this.
Yeah.
No one told you to. The fact that you have a very low sense of self-worth, you need to get on top of that. Like now, it's going to end up killing you. This is not healthy. Okay, I'm here to help you. Let's get over this. There is an entire industry out there that preys upon that man and tells him, you're at fault. And you're at fault because you're not a man enough. You're not manly enough. If you pay me 18 grand, I'll yell at you and I'll teach you how to be a man. And then you know what's going to happen? That woman of yours will suddenly turn around and she will love you and she'll erase all the bad stuff that she has going on in her past, all the stuff she has going on up here. And she's going to turn into this ravenous sex slave that won't have enough to do with you. It'll be amazing. And
why do you want to still settle for that chick though? I mean, that's, if you were actually becoming,
the truthful, difficult thing to swallow is, dude, you have a very low sense of self-worth. It ain't all you. You hooked up with the wrong person. Girlfriend there has a lot of issues. She has a lot of probably childhood abuse in her past and everything else. You or whoever she gets with is going to suffer. She has a long list of men in her wake. You just need to get away from unhealthy people like that. They're not good for you. And the more you realize that, I know it hurts. I know you want to help everybody. That's a common thing for a lot of nice guy types. I want to help and save everyone. I can save her. I'm the knight in shining armor. And the answer is no, you can't. You can't save her. She's a big girl. She can take care of herself just like you can. Let her go, dude. That's a lot tougher to swallow than, well, I can fix you. Just pay me a lot of money. So there's a lot of people out there taking advantage of those guys.
Yeah. Now, if you're still with us here, you've been watching this on Amazon Fire TV and really getting a lot out of this, I would invite you, pause the screen right now, scroll down. I can't actually put a link to the Help For Men site. It's got to be something through Amazon, but pause the site, scroll down. You can actually click and buy a copy of the Dead Bedroom Fix book. Get the book. Also go to helpformen.com/join. Check out the site. I mean, I think this is be a really great thing for you if you're in any type of situation like this. And if you're listening, there's stuff in the book that will offend some of these guys that are watching, where they're like, I love the woman. I've been with her for years. Yeah, she's cheating on me over and over again, but I just want to work it out. This is probably not for you. You're going to hear some stuff in the book that's going to offend you about need to get rid of this chick. But I would highly recommend pause it, scroll down, get a copy of the book. Just change your thinking on whether you need to stay with this woman or do you need to change yourself? Is this something where you've let yourself get out of shape, become somebody that's not desirable anymore? Either way, there's a fix. But check out the book and also go to helpformen.com/join. Check it out. I think this can really help you out a lot.
Well, but thank you.
We went way over on the time that we had scheduled here, but
did we? I didn't even pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, I have got probably 45 minutes more questions I would love to keep talking with you about here, but we'll go over on our Amazon Fire TV time here if we go too long. So a couple of last questions for you if you get time though.
Sure.
What daily habits make a man harder to ignore at home?
Keeping your word and not being afraid rather to put up boundaries in life. So when things go against your sense of values, your sense of worth, your sense of identity, that's huge. And I wrote a new book about that called Rebuild. You can check it out, Rebuild, A Complete Guide to Starting Over as a Man. That's also available on Amazon. That's my latest book. I talk all about building your identity and what are your values as a man. And that carries over into everything. your dating life, your day-to-day life as a husband and father. And when things veer off the path and you're like, I don't like that, a man who is undeniably a good dude is not afraid to say, time out, we're not doing that, whatever that may be. That's not good. That is really hard for a lot of men to do. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to cause drama and everything else. But a good man does that quite frequently, actually. It's one thing to be a stubborn a-hole and everything else, but it's another to be a good, healthy man who's got a good sense of boundaries and who he is and values. And he looks out for others. So he's the guy that doesn't let people pick on other people's weakness. He looks out for his family and his friends and his loved ones and says, I'm here for you. And I'll always have your back. That dude. So again, I keep using the term the delicate balancing act of those two, but that seems to be when everyone points to a good man, those are the two big things that I hear over and over again.
Love that. Now, again, I said I got another 45 minutes worth of questions for you, but I'll have to check out some of these events and stuff with you and see if we can get set up there, get connected, and sit down and have the cup of coffee or whatever. What is some final advice for you, though? If you've got, let's say you're watching this right now, or somebody's watching this right now, you've got a good woman that, I mean, if you've got a wife that is, whether she's out of shape, not taking care of herself, whether she's out sleeping with the neighbor, having affairs and stuff like that, I don't want advice for that guy. Just probably need to get rid of that chick. But if you got a good one at home that you love her, you still are attracted to her, but you've lost that sexual connection where she doesn't want you, give me advice for that specific guy. What do you do for yourself to help make it to where she's interested in you again?
Take a time out. Really look at yourself. What do you bring to the table? Where have you really fallen asleep at the job? It may be for some men where, you've stopped reaching emotionally connecting to your wife in any way, shape, or form. A lot of us men, and I often use this phrase, get caught in what we call the family machine. So you get up, you get the kids ready, you do your thing, you go to work, you come back, you do the kid thing, you eat the meal, you mow the lawn, and then, well, look at that. It's 10 o'clock, time to go to bed and do the whole thing all over again. And it's very easy to go through the machinations of the machine day in and day out, year in and year out. You forget, oh yeah, I got another human being that I'm living with who has emotional needs, who needs to connect with me, who needs to feel that love and desire from me. And she needs to feel appreciated, and she needs to hear a big thank you every now and then. A lot of guys need to hear that kind of stuff, need to be reminded, take them by the shoulders and shake them, going, you need to be a better husband. And then there are some guys that are like, you're a good dude, but you think that just being a good dude and doing good things is enough to bring about some kind of desire in your spouse. And it don't work that way, buddy. You got some of that superficial, shallow stuff to worry about that you forgot about. It's kind of important. And you're not the most confident dude in the world. You're not the sexiest guy in the world. Something you need to work on. Again, the old delicate balancing act of keeping it all. You got to be a good father and a good provider and a good lover and to juggle all those balls, keep those balls all in the air at one time. It's tough. And you need some help doing it. We got the help for that.
Again, check out helpformen.com/join. Man, this has been an incredible conversation. I appreciate you being on the show. And just again, thank you so much for sharing the insight that you shared. And final question for you. What is a way, if a guy is doing the right stuff, like I said, he's helping out around the house, taking care of the kids, working hard, got himself in shape, and still not really connecting with his wife or not feeling like it's frequent enough. What's a clean way to bring up sex without sounding like you're asking for permission or being needy?
We have the old healthy version of the talk, is what we call it, which is, wife, it's obvious there's something, it's not good here. Sometimes it's like so weird that I tell guys to use the term, it kind of wakes up the wife. This is kind of weird between us. Like it's a lot of women going, what do you mean weird? It's like, yeah, it's weird that two people live together as married couple and don't touch each other. That's weird. So I hope you also think that's weird, because if you, wife, don't think that's weird, if you're like, that's normal, then, oh, wow, we are on two totally different planets here. And maybe we should just call it quits, because I love you, wife. I really do. That's why I was kind of hoping we could work out. But if it doesn't work, then shake hands and say, I wish you all the best, and go by and mean it. That often is what gets the ball rolling. The woman goes, okay, this guy's serious. All right.
Yeah.
What did you have in mind? What did you mean about reconnecting? What does that entail? And you better have a plan. You better be ready to say, it means boom, boom, boom. Maybe it means let's go talk to a marriage counselor. Maybe it's a good idea to have a third person in the room we can bounce ideas off of, and you can hear my perspective and I can hear yours and come to some kind of compromise. It may mean, invariably, all of this boils down to communication, doesn't it? But communicate from a sense of power and confidence and masculinity, as opposed to communication from a the source of neediness and pleading
Yeah.
and begging and from a weakness and manipulation and all these other bad things. That's not a good way to get things done. A good way to get things done is you and I both know that this isn't working the way it is. And I'm hoping that we can come together and work as a couple together to make this work. I'm willing to put in whatever it takes to make this work. I hope you are too, wife. What is sad is that a lot of guys get back from the wife. No, I don't want to put in any work. I don't have the emotional energy for work. Frankly, dude, I tapped out years ago. That's what a lot of men hear. I disconnected years ago because of insert reasons. And some of them may be very valid. And that's really
Yeah.
tough for a guy to hear. You did this bad thing. You did that bad thing. You weren't there when I needed you. You fell apart, whatever it may be. And from that point on, I've been very disconnected. I just didn't know how to tell you. And I'm sorry to drag it on for the last so many years, some men here. But yeah, if you want a divorce, let's divorce. That's heartbreaking. You don't want to hear that. But sometimes that's the start of some really good things in your life. It may be the turnaround point. Ironically, it may be the turnaround point for you as a couple. You may get to the point of signing the divorce papers and you both look at each other and say, I don't want to do this, do you? No, I don't either. Maybe now we're ready to get to work. Yeah, maybe we should get to work. And you do. But
That's
nobody
awesome.
wants to tiptoe towards that, do they? Because it's scary.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I
Thank you.
appreciate you so much. It's just been an incredible conversation. This is awesome, Ralph.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Again, get connected with Ralph Brewer on helpformen.com/join. Check out the Facebook group. Look him up on social media. What's the best social media profile that you're active on typically?
I'm on Dad Starting Over is my name on social media. I've been doing that for years. That's the most active. Very popular Facebook page, Dad Starting Over. YouTube channel. I have over like 130,000 subscribers on YouTube, 130,000 some on TikTok. Instagram's not so popular. Twitter or X is not so popular, but Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok under the Dad Starting Over name is pretty huge.
Cool. I'll make sure I get connected with you too. Love you, man. This was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching Success, Motivation, and Inspiration. This episode was designed to help you level up. See you next time.